Welcome to Spark Academy, dear students. I am Nityanand Ghosh, physics faculty here. So today one topic I will be discussing, the topic name is projectile motion. Because projectile motion, various types of problems being asked, and then you can actually sometimes instead of substituting the formula for range, you normally use S is equal to ut plus half a t square. So what when you have to apply the logic of projectile, all those angles and all, when you should use any technique, no, basic equation of motion also you can use, or you can use the the formula of all those projectile motion, anything. So today we will be discussing about the theory of the projectile motion, and then I will try to solve some numerical problems. Okay. Now, first you have to understand what is a projectile. Projectile is nothing but whenever you send a body at some angle, it becomes a projectile. Sometimes it cannot be 90-degree angle. It should be always, projectile motion should be less than 90-degree. That is the bottom line. If it is exactly vertical, then you cannot say it is a projectile motion. Whatever vertical component will be balanced by horizontal, balanced by vector. That vector will be balanced by the horizontal vector, downward vector, upward vector minus downward vector. So projectile in the first place has to be at some angle. So at any angle, if you send a projectile, for some time it will move in that particular direction, and then each and every point, gravity will be acting. Gravity will be acting in the downward direction. Are you following? So when the gravity is acting to the velocity of that motion, then what will happen? No, it will move in a curvilinear motion. It will move in a parabolic fashion. So you need to find out what is the maximum height reached, then at what particular point it strikes the ground. All those things you have to find out. So here, projectile, what is a projectile motion? Projectile motion is the motion of an object thrown into the air with some initial velocity, after which the object moves under the influence of gravity. Of course, this is thrown at some angle. Here, a ball thrown at some angle. Okay, if football kicked into the air, it will be moving, in that path only. Water coming out from a fountain or from a tap, if you have carefully seen, the water is at speed coming out, no, it will like a parabolic fashion, it will fall at some particular point. So the path followed by projectile is called the trajectory and is a parabola. So at the end of the day, you have to prove that the projectile motion follows a parabolic path. I know all of you know parabola, hyperbola, ellipse and all those things. Okay. Now this is a comprehensive diagram. Here showing all velocity components and all. If this is two-dimensional, XY Cartesian coordinate plane is taken. Here this is the actually velocity of the projectile. The velocity of the projectile is u. From here it is going like this. So now what happens is the projectile is moving like this. Okay, in U shape. So now why it is moving in a U shape? Because of gravitational pull in the downward direction. So this velocity u is resolved into two components. One is horizontal, one is vertical. So ux is equal to u cos theta, uy is equal to u sin theta. This is the angle at which the projectile is actually thrown, and this is the maximum point. A is the maximum point it reaches. Then the same trajectory is followed in the opposite direction. So if you invert this vector, it will be like this. Ux will be in this direction, uy will be in this direction. Ux cos theta, this is negative y axis, downward, That's why uy is equal to minus u sin theta. So it goes from here and it comes here, A O into B. Okay, OB is the horizontal range. Are you following? So now we have to find out what is the maximum height, then what is the horizontal range, what is the time of flight, total time of flight, because O to A is maximum height time. You know, time of ascent is equal to time of descent. So whatever time it takes from O to A, you just multiply by 2. That's it. So now, what are the core theory and assumption? Core theory is the movement is treated into two perpendicular motion. What are the perpendicular motion? Horizontal motion and vertical motion. What is horizontal motion? X-axis. So x direction, there won't be any acceleration in x direction. Ax will be equal to 0. So horizontal velocity remains constant in x direction. So what is u of x? U of x is equal to u cos theta. Okay. Vertical motion, y-axis. Vertical motion, y-axis, constant downward acceleration due to gravity. So constant downward acceleration due to gravity is nothing but when the particle is moving in the y direction, the gravity acceleration in y direction will be gravity. That is minus g. Why? Because body is going in the upward direction, g is coming in the downward direction. So causing vertical velocity to change, continuous. So Vy will be equal to u sin theta. Now what are the assumptions? There should not be any air resistance is neglected. Acceleration due to gravity g is constant throughout the motion. Okay, g will be constant throughout. Rotation and curvature of the earth are ignored. See, in high level research, you know, let's say DRDO and all high level research, you know, you cannot have control over air resistance. And of course, acceleration due to gravity will be constant, I agree. But actual acceleration due to gravity, nobody knows. 9.8 meters per second square or 9.74 second, that is a tentative value. Actual value of G is found out at one place. I am telling you, that place name is one place at NGRI. There is a machine, one of the biggest in Asia. Because once we tell the correct value of G, a missile is sent from one particular point to enemy territory. If G value is given, one can write program and exactly the target will go and hit the place. So we should not reveal actually. But anyhow, lower level we take this assumption as we neglect this. Okay. Now, why the motion of a projectile is a this is actually formula given. This formula will be deriving. What is the formula given? Equation of trajectory y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square 2u square cos square theta. I advise you kindly by heart all this formula. You cannot solve. I will try to solve all this. You cannot solve. There is absolutely no time to solve, and then the problem is actually solved. You know, how you got this. If you forget the formula, then you can actually derive it. And once you know the formula, you can apply to solve a numerical problem. So here equation of trajectory is y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square 2u square cos square theta. You can equate this with equation, because I have seen some numerical problem they are asking. Y is equal to ax minus by. So a is nothing but your tan theta and b is nothing but g by 2u square cos square theta. Are you following? Already if you know, then you can solve problem. Okay. Time of flight is 2u sin theta by g. Going up it is 2u sin theta by g. Coming down it is 2u sin theta, u sin theta by g. So u sin theta by g plus u sin theta by g will be 2u sin theta by g. And maximum height reached is u square sine square theta by 2g, and horizontal range is equal to u square sine 2 theta by g, or it will be u square into 2 sine theta cos theta. Sometimes you have to write in this particular format, because they may give sine cos theta, you may have to find out sine theta and substitute. Okay, now let us so this is the important principle what you have to remember. Initial velocity is equal to u cos horizontal motion. There are two types of motion, horizontal and vertical. Horizontal motion mein initial velocity is u cos theta, acceleration is 0, and therefore horizontal velocity remains constant throughout. Okay, Vx is equal to u cos theta. Vertical motion mein initial velocity is equal to u sin theta, acceleration is equal to minus g. So therefore it is uniformly accelerated motion is nothing but you use the formula v is equal to u plus at. So in the vertical direction u sin theta is there, and acceleration here, acceleration ax will be equal to 0 in horizontal motion, but in vertical motion ax ay will be equal to minus g. That you have to remember, because when the body is going up, acceleration is pulling it down. So Vy will be equal to u sin theta minus gt. So this separation makes projectile problem much easier. Okay. So now let us equation of horizontal motion. So what are the equation? See, ax is equal to 0. Now in detail you find out. In horizontal ax is equal to 0. Using x is equal to uxt plus half axt square, we get ux is equal to your x will be equal to u cos theta. I mean, in place of ux you put u cos theta into t. Okay, so that is this thing. So therefore x is equal to u cos theta into t. Okay, this is the horizontal distance travel. But what is the vertical distance travel? Vertical distance travel is Vy is equal to u sin theta, ay is equal to minus g. So y will be equal to ut. Upward direction it is u sin theta into t minus half gt square. So this is the equation in the vertical motion. So now equation of trajectory. See, we have there, see, if you have x is equal to u cos theta into t, so t will be equal to x by u cos theta. If x is equal to u cos theta into t, t will be equal to x by u cos theta. Okay. So now what is y? Y is equal to u sin theta into t, ut minus half gt square, no? So it will be u sin theta into t minus half gt square. T is equal to x by u cos theta. So in place of t you put x by u cos theta. So u cancel. What is sin theta by cos theta? Sin theta by cos theta is tan theta. So x into tan theta minus half g into t square. T square is nothing but x square by u cos theta. So x square by u square cos square theta. So this is the equation of motion of the trajectory of a projectile. By looking at this, no, you get a this thing that this is moving like a parabola. You know all parabola. You know y square is equal to 4x, y square is equal to minus 4x, x square is equal to 4ay, x square is equal to minus 4ay. So in that fashion, this is the parabolic motion. So now first you have to find out what is time of flight. So for a projectile that lands at the same level from which it was projected. Okay. So at the point of landing, y is equal to 0, because the projectile, you know, it is going up and coming down. Where it is coming down, it is striking x-axis. At x-axis, y is equal to 0. All of you know. At y-axis, x is equal to 0. So projectile and coming and hitting at x-axis. X is equal to at x-axis, y will be equal to 0. So y will be equal to 0. So the formula is h is equal to ut plus half gt square. GT square. Okay, GT square. So here h will be equal to 0 in the vertical this thing, you know, when you are taking at the maximum height, velocity will be 0 for a projectile that lands at the same level from which it was projected. So h will be equal to 0 because at x y will be 0. H is represented by y, no. So y will be equal to 0 when the projectile touches the x axis. So 0 is equal to u sin theta into t minus half gt square. Okay, so that is equal to this u sin theta t, you can bring this y minus because g is acting in the body is going up, g is acting downward. U sin theta is equal to half g, half into 1t cancels, half gt. From here t will be in place of t is replaced by capital T. Capital T means total time of flight. If you are using this formula, t will be total time of flight. So total time of flight will be equal to 2u sin theta by g. Are you following? So now next is maximum height. So maximum height may, you know, the two components of the projectile ka vector, ux x direction u cos theta, y direction u sin theta. So we are considering maximum height means only y direction. So to find out maximum height, we only need the vertical component. Vertical component is given by u sin theta. So condition at maximum height is at the highest point the projectile stops moving upward momentarily. So therefore its vertical velocity becomes 0. So Vy is equal to 0 at the maximum point. So the vertical acceleration is downward. Ay will be is equal to minus g. So here if you put all this thing into this equation, initial velocity u is equal to u sin theta whole square plus 2 into acceleration is minus g into s is called maximum height, and here Vy will be equal to 0 because at the maximum height velocity is 0. So 0 is equal to this. If you simplify, you will be getting h is equal to u square sin square theta by 2g. This is the maximum height reached by the projectile. Now, what is horizontal range? Horizontal range formula is the horizontal velocity into maximum time of flight. Horizontal range is nothing but horizontal velocity into total time of flight. Horizontal range is, so horizontal velocity is u cos theta into t is total time flight. So t formula, you know, tu sin theta by g. If you substitute, you will get 2u square sin theta cos theta by g. Alternate formula, you know, 2 sin theta cos theta is sin 2 theta. So it will be u square sin 2 theta by g. Now in competitive exam they ask that what is the maximum range? When the range is maximum, when sin 2 theta is equal to 1. 1 means sin 2 theta is equal to sin 90. So 2 theta is equal to 90, theta is equal to 45 degree. So if you send the projectile at an angle of 45 degree, the maximum range is given by u square by g. Okay. So important result is a projectile has maximum range when it is projected at 45 degree. This is the maximum range to the horizontal. Okay. Now complementary angle. Complementary angle, two angles are called complementary if their sum is 90. Okay. So this is very important information in range solving range problem. You know what are complementary, supplementary. If sum of the angle is equal to 90 degree, they are complementary angle. If sum of the angle is equal to 180 degree, they are supplementary angle. So 30 plus 60 is 90. Both 30 and 60 are complement. Now, whatever be the initial velocity, maximum height and all, projectile launch with an angle theta and 90 minus theta with the same initial speed have the same range. Has the same range. Okay. Has the same range. So, why at the same range? Because, you know, sin 2 theta, because in range sin 2 theta, u square sin 2 theta by g, no. If you change the theta by 90 minus theta, If you simplify, it will be 180 minus 2 theta. You know sin 180 minus 2 theta is sin 2 theta. So whether you take theta or whether you take 90 minus theta, range will be same. So this is very important. Okay. Now what is the velocity at any time? Any time. So horizontal velocity is, this is the horizontal velocity. Vx is equal to u cos theta. Vertical velocity is Vy is equal to u sin theta minus gt. Okay. So now this is the horizontal, this is vertical. So the velocity at any time will be square root of Vx square plus Vy square. So V will be equal to square root of u cos theta whole square plus this Vy is equal to this. You can simplify or you can remember the formula, and tan theta is equal to opposite by adjacent, no, that is Vy by Vx is tan theta. What is Vy? Vy ka formula you substitute u sin theta minus gt by u cos theta. So this is your this thing formula. So this is in nutshell, these are the formulas which you have to remember for competitive exam where time is very less. See, horizontal velocity is equal to u cos theta, vertical initial velocity is u sin theta, time of maximum height is u sin theta by g, maximum height is u square sin square theta by 2g, time of flight is 2u sin theta by g, horizontal range is equal to u square sin 2 theta by g, or maximum range is u square by g. So angle for maximum range is 45 degree, and trajectory, this trajectory is a parabola. Okay, and you have to remember the formula because competitive exam they are asking E and B. So with this I am finishing this class today. Next class I will continue from here. Thank you very much.